to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant. This podcast is brought to you by Defence Housing Australia. Invest in a Defence Housing Australia property and they'll pay your rent, manage your tenants, and even take care of day-to-day maintenance. Rental income is guaranteed for up to 12 years. Your rent is reviewed annually to market value and will never fall below the starting rent. So all you have to do is sit back today and look forward to tomorrow. To find out more, call 133-DHA. That's 133-342. Or visit dha.gov.au/lookforward.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to be here. I am Phil Tarrant, property investor, and also the editor of smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Joined today with a regular guest of ours, James Mitchell, who's the editor-at-large across all the property and mortgages stuff here at Momentum Media. James, how you going, mate?
Good, thanks, Phil.
Thanks for coming along again.
That's all right.
We've got a guest in the studio today, Nusha Zumbul. Now, I hope I've got that name pronounced correctly. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
It's good. Thanks for coming along.
No worries.
So,
Thank you.
Nusha listened to a podcast we did recently where we made a call out for more female investors, and we know you guys are out there. We know that you guys are kicking goals all over the place. So, Nusha, thanks for stepping up and getting in contact and coming on the show to tell us your investment story.
No worries. That feels special.
We're just chatting off air, everyone, all our listeners, and just sort of lamenting on. It was really a lament, but it's on how well we're tracking in terms of the performance of the show. It sounds like everyone's really enjoying what we're talking about, and I can feel my voice sort of going at the moment. So if it starts getting crackly during the course of this podcast, I do apologise. James, you're going to have to step in.
No worries.
Before we get started, James, what's the thing over this last week when it comes to property or mortgages?
Yep.
And I'm completely off the cuff here.
Yeah, yep.
What is the one thing that you've seen that makes you most nervous or excited?
Over the last week?
Yep.
What makes me nervous is people's knee-jerk reactions to big political events, I think. That's something which people need to be mindful of. It's interesting. We live in a very fast-paced news environment, obviously, 24-hour news. We've had the Brexit thing. We've had, obviously, the federal election, when I think they're still counting all the votes on that. People can really get wrapped up in all this stuff, you know? And I think it's not really best to make big investment decisions based on political events and things like that. I know some people do, but you know, some people want to ride the stock market, you know, when it's down, all that sort of stuff with the Brexit fallout. But I think just take the international news with a grain of salt and focus on your investment strategy. I think it's a really important thing. That's what I'm seeing from a lot of the chief economists, a lot of the bank commentators. People in the know are pretty much just saying, keep calm, carry on.
So don't worry about all the noise, cut it all out. Because they're talking about the our credit rating being downgraded as Australia as a whole, which is going to influence the money that we can borrow as a government.
Yeah. Well, if they do downgrade the credit rating, obviously that'll have an impact. But I think either way, people need to stick to their guns and stick to their strategy, because the world's going to change no matter what. You know, governments are going to change, things are going to happen. If you stick to your plan, you can't go too wrong, I don't think.
Now, when I asked you that question, I had no idea you'd say that, but I'm going to use this as an excellent segue.
Perfect. Into
chatting about your portfolio, Nusha. All this stuff that's been happening in terms of the election and all the noise coming out of Europe about the breakdown of the potential of the European Union and all this sort of stuff, and what it might do to mortgage rates and investments and all that sort of stuff. What do you reckon about it? Do you care? Is it really in your radar, or are you just getting on with doing what you're doing?
No, I'm just getting on with what I'm doing. I don't want to fog my brain. I already got this analysis by paralysis thing going, so any extra will just stop me and put me backwards. I'm better off just keep on doing what I'm comfortable with, and I don't think it will affect us that much.
Are you just sort of reading anything, or, you know, obviously listening to the Smart Property Investment Show, but are you doing anything which is like looking to maybe overcome some fears or some uncertainty you have in these sort of fluctuating economic markets and climates, or you just gone, I'm not worrying about it, let me just get on with it?
At the moment, I'm just saying I'm not worrying about it, but to prevent or cover myself, I do plan to buy some properties that I can just renovate and turn over and make some cash from it and pay my current loan off. You know? So that if anything does happen, I'm covered at the end of the day.
It's good. It's where you need to be. So let's talk about your portfolio. You're not, I don't like talking age, James, with people on the show, but you're quite young. You know, you're still new to property investing. How long have you been investing for?
I've been investing since 2009, so that's about 7 years.
So just for all our listeners, by the way, this is not scripted at all. Nusha's turned up, and I know she's had a couple of chats with some people here editorially about the type of things we talk about, but I have no idea about the background of your portfolio, and we do that for a reason when we do the show. So it's really raw and immediate, and you know, we get the information when we hear about it because it helps us shape what we talk about based on your story. So kick it off in 2009. So you've been at it for a little while. How many properties do you have now in your portfolio?
I have 4 properties.
Okay.
And they're all very different to each other. And that's because I learned as I went what type of property to invest into. My first property I bought in Southwest, near, if you know, Horningsea Park, close to Liverpool.
Yep.
And that, at the time when I bought this, I was 21 years old, and we had a friend that suggested we buy this property and it will make us a lot of returns.
What was the property?
It was a 4-bedroom house with about 600 square meters of block.
Okay.
But at that time, I wanted to buy a apartment in Chippendale.
Okay.
But I didn't really know anything about because my parents lived in Liverpool.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about other suburbs. And being so young, I was too scared to kind of go so far away from home. So I decided...
So was that so you're going to buy something in Chippendale and live there? Was
no,
that the idea?
just invest.
Just the investment?
Yeah, so it was all going to be an investment. But
That would have been an awesome investment.
it would have been much better than this one. Yeah, I would have been about over $200,000 better off. But
So why Chippendale, did you think?
it was just a good deal. The house had, it was an apartment and it had a lot of problems with it. Like it needed a major renovation and things like that. And my dad told me, if you buy this, you will have no more money left. You can't afford to renovate it. So, and no one's going to rent it. And I didn't know any better. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll just go and buy, 50-50 in Horningsea Park. And so I own half of that property, not the whole thing.
And did you invest with your parents on that?
No, I invested with my partner.
Okay.
So at the time we weren't married.
So then boyfriend,
Yeah.
now husband?
Now husband,
Okay.
yeah, that's right.
That's cool. So Liverpool, first one, and then where did you invest after that?
So after that, we got married and we wanted to buy a family home at the beginning, but then we were like, oh, maybe not, because we can't afford it. Our income was so much lower than what it is now, obviously, being 22 at the time, 23. And so we decided to buy a property in Minto,
Yep.
which had its own story. It was really badly managed. It was dirty and no one had lived in it for about 8 months.
Or a house in Minto?
Yeah, a house. It was a 4-bedroom house with a garage that wasn't actually approved by the council.
Yeah, okay.
That was probably the best purchase so far.
Okay. How much you pay for that, do you remember?
Yeah, we bought it for 310.
Okay.
And we got it evaluated last year for 500.
You can't complain about that.
No.
So that's like in, what's that, sort of 6 years or so?
No, I bought Minto in 2013.
Oh, okay.
3 years.
3 years, you made 200 grand.
Yeah, so in 3 years, I made a bit of money through property.
That's good. Okay, so Liverpool, so a bit of a gap between Liverpool and Minto. You got married and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you sort of sit back and think, my wedding, I spent a lot of money on it. Could have bought a couple of houses with it. But did you ever sit there, did that come into the equation for you guys when you were getting married? You went, spent all the money on the wedding and don't worry about buying property? Or do you sort of sit back now going, if only we use that cash to buy another property? Or...
Look, we were pretty money smart at the time, and I knew what I wanted, and I've always had this passion for property. And I said to myself, the first thing I want to do as soon as I get married is to buy a property. So I set myself a budget with my wedding. Obviously, we all go over it, but but yeah. I did say that, but what can you do? You learn.
You got to enjoy these things. It's important.
Exactly. You have to live.
You do. So after Minto, which was 2013, where'd you go after that?
2014. This is really interesting actually, because we were just talking about buying a property, like just investing again, and I went for a drive to where they were subdividing near Horningsea Park. It's called Gregory Hills, and we went to the display homes.
Okay.
And they said, like one of the display homes said, we had a whole heap in Schofields and they're all sold out. And I looked at my partner, I'm like, where's Schofields? He's like, I don't know, but let's go for a drive. So we went and we saw everything was getting redeveloped. And I didn't know anything about Schofields, but I knew it's going to make us money simply because of everything just being redeveloped. And there was going to be an IKEA and Bunnings and the new Northwest Rail Link.
Yeah.
I went to a real estate and we saw a couple of blocks that hasn't been registered yet. I'm waiting for that to be registered.
Okay.
It should be registered by November this year. So we bought it off the plan 2 years ago and still waiting for registration. And so we bought the block off the plan at the time for $450.
Yeah.
And I think that right now, going off similar blocks on realestate.com, it's worth about at least $550 now.
That's pretty good. It's the whole area is just booming at the moment, because that must be at the end of Windsor Road, Old Windsor Road there, because that's where they're putting the Bunnings and everything
pretty much
in there.
and end of Windsor Road.
Is that just on the land there?
Yeah. So it's all booming there. It's like so much going on now.
Have you been out there at all?
No.
Have you been out there recently?
Yeah,
It's just mad.
it's
Like
mad.
they're building the rail link going out there. It's just huge.
They're actually building it.
Oh, yeah. They're actually building it.
Wow.
The whole Rouse Hill area,
Yeah.
and it's all up and coming and growing. The ponds, which isn't far from
Schofield.
from Schofield's, like $1 million there for a house.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a station at Schofield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's already a station at Schofield.
Yeah.
So where I bought the block is actually about 1 kilometre away from
Okay.
Kadajong, which is where the new...
The current existing Schofield line's the Blacktown line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so there's got to be the new rail link is going to give you another option to come in
Yeah.
the city straight down through Chatswood and stuff.
Chatswood and Hornsby.
That's
yeah.
good. So you're sitting on a block of land at the moment that you're going to develop?
Yeah, so this is my next project. In November, we're going to start developing that.
Okay.
And in between all this, we also bought an apartment in Newtown.
Okay.
It's about 100 meters away from King Street.
That's good. What'd you pay for that?
We paid $850,
Okay,
which
that's-
is below market value.
Yeah, wow. And you found all these properties yourself?
Yeah. So we did, before we bought Newtown, we were actually going to go through a buyer's agent and buy a property in Brisbane.
Okay.
But then we just, this came up and we're like, we just kind of invest into this. We're not going to lose. It's our first blue chip property. Why not? And we bought it with the plan to be able to live in there in the near future.
Okay. So you've got a bit of an upside option on it if you want to live in close to the city.
Yeah.
So
is that a two-bedder, that one?
Yeah, 2-bedroom, a garage, and it has its own carport.
That's
it's
pretty cool.
fairly old, but
So do you guys live in the city area, or are you at Liverpool Way still?
no, still at Liverpool
Liverpool.
Way. Yeah.
Do you work in the city? Or
Yes,
You do.
well-
So you commute every day into town, do you?
Yeah, well, I work in Olympic Park at the moment,
Okay.
but I used to work in the city with the same company, but now I'm back into the head office and very likely back into the city again. That's where all the work is.
That's good that you've got Newtown there if you want to sort of move into town. So
Yeah.
what do you do? What's your job?
Oh, so I'm a project drafts person and
Okay.
an estimator.
Okay.
I work on mechanical services, so air conditioning.
So you draw all the plans for air conditioning
Yeah.
ducts and stuff. That's so complicated.
Yeah, that
You
would
ever seen them?
No, that's like my nightmare.
How did you end up doing that? So you obviously did a university degree
Yeah.
in mechanical engineering or something, or draftsmanship, or
No, I studied product design, industrial design,
okay,
at the University of New South Wales.
yeah.
And during the time when I was studying, I was also working full time. That's how I afforded all this.
I was going to
property.
say, because you're still really young, and these are really good assets from an investment point of view. But Newtown for $850, you need a pretty reasonable deposit to buy something like that. Have you sort of refinanced any of these properties at any point? Is that
Yeah.
Can you talk me through how you get your deposits together?
Yeah. So with the Horningsea Park, because I owned half of it, I tried to pay off as much as I can between that gap. And also we, being so money conscious, we were both money conscious actually, and we tried to save the most we can, and we don't really have any expensive vehicles or anything that would cost us a lot of money and would not improve our life in any way. So just to get by.
So no big liabilities, things like that?
No, nothing. Just my car is probably around $5,000 max, and so is my partner's. And we try and get around with public transport because it's great. You don't have to worry about parking or anything like that. We did travel, but we do travel on a budget, obviously, not 5-star. But, it's been pretty good. The rewards have been great.
So I guess, why are you investing in property? You know, you're doing really well, and you've got where you guys are at your state in life professionally, but also, you know, in terms of age, you still got a long working life ahead of you. So
Yeah, what's the end goal?
What's the end goal?
End goal, or
Yeah.
why am I investing?
Yeah, both, I guess.
Both. Okay, so first, the reason why I'm investing is because I didn't really have an easy life. When I came to Australia, my father had an accident,
Okay.
and I was forced to go to work since I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And I haven't stopped working ever since. And that has taught me a lot about money. And I know that to get money, you have to work for it. And at some point, I know that my mind will give up and say, I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And I don't want my children to go through what I've been through, you know.
So did you work was that within the family business that you were working
No.
within? Okay.
So I just basically, in Liverpool, there's many shops, and I asked the shops if they can give me some work. And
Okay.
they said, yeah, sure, stock the shelves and things like that. And from then on, I haven't stopped working.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I find it's really admirable to have that dedication to work. It's
And to understand the security, I guess, as
Yeah.
well, that you want to have something with the property. You want to create something that's going to generate an income when, as you said, you won't be able to work possibly one day or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
so let's talk numbers then. So all these properties combined, what's the sort of total size of your portfolio in terms of its value?
Value total right now is
Yeah.
2.7 million.
2.7 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what sort of debt do you carry on that?
About 2.24.
Okay.
But this is just assuming what was on realestate.com and,
Yeah.
you know, making these assumptions. I haven't really got any of them reevaluated except the Minto one because I wanted to see how much money I can borrow to buy Schofields.
Yeah. Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I haven't got any other one reevaluated yet.
So we spoke really briefly about deposits. So you've refinanced
Yes,
one or two of them, or
just one of them.
Okay.
So, but I think by the time I start building Schofields, I might need to refinance at least another one.
That's and so you've paid the deposits for most of these with savings. It's
Pretty much, yeah.
It's something unheard of this day. Yeah. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant. And what about the build on your place out in Schofields? Do you think you can? Like, have you got some cash that you're just going to use to pay for that? Is that the plan?
Yeah, well, that's the plan but when we bought Horningsea Park and we pumped into it ever since, and we've had an offset account really
Okay.
for all of them. So there's quite a big chunk of cash waiting to go into Schofield.
So each of these, so you've got 4 mortgages, I guess, against 4 properties.
Yep.
One of them is a land component. So you have an offset account attached to each of those mortgages,
That's right.
and then you have cash sitting in those to. So they're all interest-only mortgages, or they're
Yes,
principal? They're
they're
all
all,
interest-only.
Yep.
So if I ask you a question, what should you be paying in interest a month, and what you do actually pay in interest a month because you have money sitting in offsets? How different is that?
It's huge, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't want. If I tell you exactly how much I save a month, you'll be shocked.
Yeah,
but,
tell us.
But I don't budget. I can't budget.
Yeah.
I don't know how to budget. But all I knew when I got married with my partner was we're saving one of our income. That's 50% savings every week.
Okay.
And it was so basic. Just, and with your income, we can do whatever you want.
Okay.
We can live and so with the being 2 income, it made a huge difference. And when I saved the 50%, and we've been married about 4, 5, 6 years now,
Okay.
almost. And so with the 50% of my income, and obviously my income going up gradually, it's made a huge difference. And so before, we used to save about 3.5 when we first started, and now our savings are over $5,000 a month.
Okay. Wow.
Because of low interest rates
Yep.
and also paying down so much.
So you are saving in interest payments $5,000 a month?
No.
You're saving
That's your
cash
total
for
saving.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that money you put into one of the offsets, or do you sort of split them all equally?
I'll put them into one
Yep.
because I think it's the Westpac one that costs me the most.
Okay.
So I try to put it into that. So I have
And
the
by doing
least.
that saves you how much in interest payments? Probably quite a lot, I imagine.
Would
Yeah.
it be like a percentage point? Or would it be that high?
Yeah, honestly don't remember, but I know that it saved me about $1,000 a month.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
It just goes to show the use of, if you could use your offset in the right way, it can really underwrite a lot of your interest costs. It's a lot of people sometimes forget that.
So you save. So you obviously, you and your husband, you completely save one of your incomes, and the other one's used to live.
Yeah.
This is what my girlfriend suggested to me, but I was not having any of it. Said if we break up, it's going to be expensive to untile that.
That's it. At least you're always optimistic, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Positive guy.
Yeah. But, saving is difficult. Particularly Sydney's an expensive town. So all of Australia's expensive to live in, but it's tough to do it. So to have the diligence and the rigor and all that sort of stuff to do. Do you have like credit cards, or do you use credit cards to pay for stuff? How do you do that as part of your saving regime?
Yeah, so the credit card is actually great. I love my credit card. I don't know how some people can say they can't manage it, because the way I planned it is basically I pay all of my costs, so my council rates, my water bills, or my own personal stuff in my credit card. And at the end of the month, how I've set it up is on Wednesday I get charged for interest.
Okay.
And I pay my credit card on Friday. So I save on that, whether it's $3,000 or $4,000 of interest just by, leaving that into my offset account and paying it the last day.
That's good.
So that also gives me about, I think when we calculated, it was something like $60 a month.
Every $60 counts.
Exactly.
So how do you find the time to manage your portfolio like that? Like, I'd do it for a little while and then forget about it. But is it take a lot of time to make sure you're always on top of it and doing this? Yeah.
It's a dual thing. So if I had to do it on my own, I wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Because so what I did with my partner was he files everything. He's very pedantic. So we have a filing cabinet. As I pay each and every single one of our bills, he basically files it properly for that year. So whenever we need to do our tax returns, it's really easy as well. We've got it all properly filed. Just take it out and give it to the accountant.
Does he work in a role which is sort of finance orientated, or is he just that way inclined? No.
He's a tradesman. He works for the Sydney Trains.
Okay.
Yeah. He's an electrician, but he's very pedantic.
It's a very methodical way. It's the right way to do it. To be fair. A lot of people try and use credit cards and be tricky with it and try and get points, and then they get caught on the interest, and they find their credit cards so much, and then they've got to take money out of their overdraft, or they've got to refinance to pay the credit cards off. It's quite hard to get it right, but at the same time, if you're quite structured and methodical and thorough, you could actually use credit cards to good use.
It all comes down to discipline, I think.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, absolutely. It's really good. So do you manage all your properties yourself? You don't have managing agents?
Oh, I do have managing agents. Simply because I was told that if I don't have an agent and something goes wrong with the tenant, I can't cover myself.
Okay.
I need a proper formal document that if the tenant decides not to move out, I can't kick him out. I need a professional agent to do that.
Okay.
So that's why, and I thought I don't have the time, to be honest. So I just left it with the agents. The fees are not that high. I actually, when we bought our first property in 2009, I think it was something like 5%, or
It's not too bad.
Yeah. And so when we bought Minto, the agent was really keen on having us on board, and I told her that I've already got another investment property, and they, it's rented at 4.5%. Will you match it? And she said, yeah, okay.
Great. Always ask for a discount.
Yeah, so I just asked, I just made it up, and my partner was like, no. And I was like,
That's awesome.
Oh, that's really good. We talk about this all day. It's it's a really great story. I think what I'd take away from this conversation is, if you can start young, start young.
oh, definitely.
It's an absolute must. You can get such a head start. You're 15 years ahead of I am in terms of the age that you started investing, and that's going to hold you in good stead in the future. Number two, just the rigor around the way in which you manage your finances. Everyone can do that. There's no excuse for being disorganised. So everyone can be organised, and you need to be able to work that out. You've got a level of diversification in terms of the type of properties that you've got. You're obviously Liverpool, Minto. It's Southwest Sydney. Schofields is sort of northwest Sydney, and you've got a nice blue chip property in Newtown. I imagine at some point in time you might look about going interstate, but there's probably no real rush to do that right now. But I think also just your aptitude towards understanding property and how it works is it's really commendable, and people can take a lot away from that. So congratulations on where you're going with this, and we'd love to have you back again at some point when you've got another couple of properties under your belt to talk about your story. And
be good to hear how the Schofields build goes as well.
Yeah. Sometimes building can be a real. Are you just picking a thing out of a brochure and a property out of a brochure and building it?
Yeah, because it seems like it's the cheapest option. It works at about 1,200 a square meters, whereas if I was going to do own a builder, it's almost like 1,400.
Yeah, it gets expensive. And you get trapped into all making it nice and lovely and exactly how you want it. But if you're just going to use it as an investment property, keep it as cheap as possible. And obviously you're going to get a lot of depreciation
that's
effects out of it as well.
Yeah.
That's good. James, anything else to add? What's your sort of one thing?
Well, I was very interested, just before we began the interview, about the interest rates in Iran. You're originally from Iran, and tell us a little bit about the interest that people get on their money by putting it in an Iranian bank. That was an interest to me.
It was, wasn't it?
I think at the moment it's about 13 or 14%, and if you put it 5 years locked interest is compounding. So in about 5 years, I think your money almost doubles.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not like our banks here, where you're lucky to get 0.01% in interest.
That's why we invest in property.
Yeah, that's why putting your money in offsets makes sense, because you get the effects of an offset versus actual cash in a bank is chalk and cheese. But Nusha, thanks for coming in. I really do appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's great. Just for all our listeners, thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's always good to have you. Keep the reviews coming on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you want to ask me any questions or any of the team here, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. You can follow me on Twitter at Philip Tarrant. You can also check out Smart Property Investment across all the social networks and www.smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Make sure you tune in again next week. We'll be here and with some new stories from some great property investors. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye.